What's going on, everybody? Once again, back. It's the incredible Dale Valor's Inner Game podcast, and I'm excited to be here, excited to be doing this once again. Man, I really look forward to doing these every time we do it. You know, I find it to be kind of it's almost cathartic. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a sounding board, just to be able to just like kind of throughout the course of the week, kind of filtering my thoughts and seeing what is relevant, what people are talking about, what kind of topics and stuff like that people want to dive into. And if that speaks to you, look, you know, get at me. If there's a topic that you want us to cover here, this is episode 16. So this is really like 4 months of doing this, you know, and give or take, I suppose. But still, nonetheless, we've been at this now for a third of a year. And I want to talk about what you want to talk about, not necessarily, even though, like I just said, I like bringing what I've been thinking about throughout the course of the week to the podcast. At the end of the day, I want this to be something that is listener driven. You know, I want you guys to tell me what it is that you want to talk about. And then myself, Shabam, we can chop it up, talk about it, and hopefully give you guys some type of information that resonates, that's actionable, that you can take with you and use practically in your everyday life, you know? So for those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. For those of you who are coming back, so glad that you've made this something that you consistently check out. And I really hope, and I know that you're getting something out of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be back because there's a million other things that you could be doing right now, but you are here with us, chopping it up, having a good time, dropping a little bit of knowledge and keeping it moving. You know, if you don't know what inner game is, inner game, the way I define it, is the relationship that you have with yourself. If the relationship with yourself sucks, so is the rest of the other relationships in your life. It's just a matter of time, kind of like a gallon of milk. you leave that gallon of milk sitting out in the sun. You just got it. It's good. You leave it sitting out in the sun in an hour or so. Yeah, you're not going to want to be drinking that gallon of milk. You know, it's
certain.
Yeah, well, right. Your relationships are not a fine wine, you know, that gets better over time if your relationship with you is terrible. Okay. So, that's what we get into here, is talking about how to treat yourself well, how to respect yourself, how to love yourself, how to get out of your own head, how to stop having limiting beliefs, self-sabotage. Man, we talk about so much stuff here. And one of the things that we were talking about before starting the podcast today was preferences. Okay. And clearly, if you're listening to this and you're, somebody that listens on a regular basis, you prefer this podcast to other podcasts. All right. Which is dope. I love that. But at the end of the day, a preference is just nothing more than something that you prefer. It's not a deal breaker. That would be like saying, okay, Dale Valor's Inner Game podcast is my preference. Therefore, I will never listen to any other podcast. That's it. That's the only one, because that's the one I prefer. And that's silly. You know what I mean? Like, or a musician being like, I only listen to my own songs.
Yeah. Like I would,
You know, I only prefer my own music. So that's all I ever listen to. Like, come on, man. That's very limiting. You know, you're obviously limiting yourself when you're doing that. But in the I guess in the dating space, right? One of the things that I see guys really struggle with in terms of limiting beliefs is believing that preferences are deal breakers. And that is such a huge misnomer, man, because if you come at it with that approach, you're going to severely cut yourself off at the knees. You know, and this is a really long intro, by the way. You good, Shabam?
Yeah. Totally.
All right. Now that that's established, but again, like preferences are not deal breakers. And guys tend to have this, some guys tend to have this mindset to where it's like, if a girl says that she prefers something and that something is not you, a characteristic or quality that you don't have, whether it's physically or mentally or, your personality, well, whatever. Just because she has a certain preference doesn't mean that that is eliminating you. Now, are there women who will have specific deal breakers that seem a bit petty or a bit ridiculous? Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
100%. Yes, of course that exists. But one, if a girl has those types of petty, ridiculous set of standards, firstly, like she eliminated herself. Because I'm not trying to get with or talk to anybody whose standards are just simply just silly. I was scrolling around this morning working on some of my social media stuff, and I saw a post. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it real quick, just so I can read it verbatim what it says. If I can remember where it was, let me check this out. Say something funny, Shaban, while I find this. It's your time to shine, buddy.
Yeah, as if I was that funny. I think that's your role.
All right, I can't find it, but basically what it said was this. It was like a retweet or something like that, and this girl was like, "It's a huge red flag if a guy orders dessert on a date. That's a female thing to do." I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is a ridiculous standard. That's that's silly. Okay, so like here you are, you're sitting here with this guy that presumably that you like and or at least like enough to go out on a date with in the first place, So you're trying to get to know this guy, and we'll say that this girl, she's like, oh, this guy's pretty cool, this guy's pretty interesting, I'm liking this guy, and then when the server comes around and they're like, any dessert for you guys? Yeah, you know what, as a matter of fact, let me see your dessert menu. And she's gonna be like, like, nah,
okay, I'm done.
No, all that stuff about liking him, that just went right out the window because this guy's about to order a piece of pie. Like that's just absurd, And so to me, like, fine, if she wants to do that, like, by all means, you go right ahead.
Go for it.
Because you eliminated yourself to me, So of course there's women that are going to have these just ridiculous standards and things like that. But the average common sense individual, will they have preferences? Of course they'll have preferences. Does that mean that those preferences are always deal breakers? Well, maybe if there's like a bunch of the preferences that aren't being met, sure. But it's not one thing, that it's likely to automatically just discount you. Yeah. Like, think of it like this, man. Quick story. So I may have told this story on here before. I don't remember, but this one girl who I ended up dating for years. We went out for a long time, and she had told me, now she had just gotten out of. She's like the type of person that she jumps in and out of relationships. Like she's like never been single, basically. She'll be single for like a week, and then she's in a relationship with somebody else. Okay, and her relationships tend to be long. You know what I mean? Like, she'll be in like a 2-year relationship, be out of a relationship.
Serial monogamist or something.
And then she'll get into another relationship that will go for a while, And so anyway, she had just gotten out of this relationship. All right. And then we start going out, and then lo and behold, we're in a relationship. And like a couple of years go by, and for some reason I was I was going through her drawers for like she was asking me to find something for her or something like that, you know. And so I'm like going through like dresser drawers and whatever. And I find this paper. All right. It was just kind of like sitting out. And it was like a list. And I just glance at it real quick. And it was all these requirements that she needs to have in a guy. And she had never told me about this before. Okay. And I was like, what's this? You know? And she's like, oh my God. You know, she was like embarrassed, you know? And so she goes on to tell me, she's like, you know, after I got out of my relationship with my ex, you know, I tried to sit down and think about like moving forward, the type of guy that I want to be in a relationship with. And this was the criteria that this guy needs to have. There's probably about 25 things on this list. I had like 2. Okay. So, you know, what that tells me is that once, you know, like, yeah, these were all her preferences. Boom, you know, but once, you know, emotionally, she's into you, she likes you, those preferences go out the window.
Yep.
You know, and one of the examples I absolutely love when it comes to this, you know, like it's not a one-way street. It's a 2-way street. You have preferences too, right?
Exactly.
I mean, who doesn't? Of course you have preferences. I have preferences. Shabam has preferences. Any number of you guys listening to this, you all have preferences as to what you like. And that doesn't mean that if a girl doesn't meet, you know, all these preferences, that you're not going to talk to them. You're not going to date them, or you have some disdain for them or something like that, you know? So like, think of it like this. Say you got 100 guys, right? And we'll say, you know, the question is asked, all right, is it a preference of yours for a woman to have nice tits? Okay. Is that a preference? We'll even specify it. Like, would you be happy dating a woman, you know, all things being equal, but dating a woman that, you know, is 36 double D? Okay. So she's got some boobies on her. All right. You know, I would venture to say that probably 90 of those 100 guys, so 90%, I would say, would suggest, yes, that would be a preference of mine. Okay.
Yep.
However, how many of those guys are actually dating a woman with 36 double Ds?
Exactly.
A few, you know, but if that's their preference, why aren't they, you know, like a girl you know, they're talking to some girl and, you know, like, I don't know, she's a C cup or something like that. Why don't you dip? You know what I mean? Because that's not your preference. No, exactly. It's because it's not a deal breaker. And the same thing applies from the other way, meaning, okay, well, like a lot of guys, you know, have these limiting beliefs. I'm too this, right? This could be anything. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too short. I'm too tall. Like the list goes on and on and on and on, you know? And so the thing is that, you know, okay, a woman being asked, you know, do you prefer tall guys or short guys? Well, odds are she's going to say tall guys. I mean, like,
that's the most common response. Yeah, right. Like it's like asking someone, you know, would you date someone who's like complete model-like figure and like a normal figure? Most people are going to say model-like figure, but why aren't like exactly like that's the common sense? But you know, most people will still date normal people. It's not like everyone has. It's just not a thing, you know.
Right. Exactly.
It's like idealistic. It's like the better word is idealistic. Idealistically, we would like that. Yeah,
that's a good
but we're okay with this. Like,
like, why are there pretty people in movies? You know, it's because that's what, you know, people want to look at, fantasize about, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, of course, most women are going to say that they prefer tall guys. Okay.
Yep.
But again, that doesn't, for some women, okay, fine. It's a deal breaker for some. Okay.
Yep.
But for the vast majority, they don't want to be single forever. Okay. And I'm not saying, and by the way, the way this is going to sound, let me preface this. I'm not saying that she's settling by being with you. Okay. That's not what I'm driving at here. But I mean, just the percentages. I believe that only 12% of men are taller than 6 feet.
I think it's less. It's less. It's legit less. Yeah, it's less than that. Yeah,
I'm over here
Google,
acting like
actually.
I can't just look this up real quick. Hold on. Let's find. Just in the in the interest of knowing what we're talking about here. Percentage of men over 6 feet. Okay. All right. So check this out. This is not a worldwide statistic. Okay. This is U.S. population. All right. In the U.S. population, about 14.5% of all men are 6 feet or over. So, and only 1% of U.S. men are 6'4" or taller. Okay.
Yeah.
So worldwide, that would, I would assume it's
lower. I think worldwide is lower. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
America, the United States tends to be probably a taller country if you were to rank it.
Yeah. If you had to scale it. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And there's a lot of people that live here too, so it's not like, some like country, Liechtenstein or got 50,000 people that live there. It might be the tallest country, but there's only, 50,000 people. But that aside, so a girl knows that most guys are not over 6 feet tall. She doesn't have to look it up like I just did to just look around, like it's not like, 6 feet guys are everywhere. Okay. And also in relation to like money. Okay. Like there's not millionaires everywhere. That's a small percentage. So like guys have these limiting beliefs of like, oh, well, that's what she prefers. So I'm out of the mix. No, you're not. You're 100% not, somebody DM'd me just today asking me about this. And they were asking me, like, is there any guys in modern flirting that are, students in the program that are 5'6" and under that do well? And there was like a half dozen that came to mind, like immediately. I was like, yeah, man. I'm like, I could introduce you to these guys if you don't believe me. You know what I mean? Because this is the guy I'm talking about. He's the type of person that needs to see empirical data, he trusts what I'm saying, but it's like trust.
He wants proof.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like there's a guy, man, and I'm not going to say his name, but which I almost did, but there's a guy in the program who, by all accounts, if you were to go to a Facebook group or something like that's like looks, money, status type of thing, you know what I mean? Like they'd be like, that's impossible. There's no way that this guy is doing what he's doing, and like, let me run down the stats. Okay. So this guy might be 5'1", maybe, like he might not even be 5 foot. I don't remember exactly. Okay. But he's 5 foot. We'll just say 5 foot. He's 5 foot.
Yeah.
He's probably 95 pounds, maybe 100 pounds, like really skinny. Okay. Like it's obvious that he was probably born with some defective,
malnutrition sort of. Yeah.
He has asthma. He can't really work out or anything. He can't do something super physical, for any extended period of time. All right. Like super bad asthma. He's got hearing aids. Okay. Let's see. The list goes on. Okay. He lives in the UK. and he's an Indian guy in a predominantly, like he's definitely part of the minority. I know that there's a lot of Indians that live in London and things like that, but still, nonetheless, most people would say that's a detractor in where he lives. You know what I mean? Which sucks. But I'm not going to sit up here and talk about race relations and things like that. But that's kind of shitty.
It is what it is.
But whatever. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Let's be real about it. So and like he does well. You know what I mean? Like it's not like he's like struggling or anything like that financially. But he's not like I'm I don't have access to his accounts, so I don't know what he has. But just in talking to him and knowing him and stuff like that, like he seems to be comfortable. But I would say it's probably a stretch to say that he's like independently wealthy or something like that. So anyway, so all accounts, like this guy should not be doing well according to people that you talk to. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yet this guy is never at a shortage for dates. This guy is all like he DM'd me today, as a matter of fact. He's always doing well on dating apps, which again, like, oh, you gotta be mega Chad to do well on dating apps. Like, okay, so explain this then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and let me say this, of course, being 6'4", super jacked, of course
that helps.
Of course it does. But that aside, again, we're talking about preferences, So a couple of maybe 6 months ago, we were doing a retreat in Fort Lauderdale, and I winged for this guy twice in two different occasions. And the first time he goes up, he like starts talking to this group. Some guy tries to kind of like AMOG him. If you don't know what AMOG means, like alpha male of the group, basically kind of like beat it.
Basically cock block.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who are you? We don't know you, beat it, and he held his own with that guy, ended up befriending that guy. All right. And then got this girl's number, who he still stays in touch with to now, as far as I know. I don't know everything that happened there, but still, again, same guy. You know what I mean? Here's 5 foot Indian dude. You know what I mean? So, and then I think it was the next day, I was waiting for him again. Doing day game, and he almost pulled a threesome with these two. Like, one girl was really hot, the other one was like, she was she was pretty, but like wasn't, the other one was the knockout for sure. And anyway, he almost gets a threesome with the two of them, but he ends up getting with one of them. You know what I mean? And so like, I could not be more proud.
Yeah. For sure.
But still, again, preferences. Now, if you were to ask those two girls, hey, like, say they never met him, and I walked up and I was like, hey, listen, out of curiosity, would you guys ever sleep with a guy that's 5 foot tall, 95 pounds, hearing aids,
skinny little Indian.
Right. Would you get with that guy? They'd be like, oh, hell no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when they're actually confronted and they start to like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, all those preferences go out the window.
Exactly.
So, another example of this, like, the way I see it, it kind of like what I was talking about before. If you're asking 100 guys about breast size, like women look at height like guys look at breast size. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, again, the preference might be, like, I would like her to have a nice big set of boobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, throw the baby out with the bathwater because, she doesn't have that. If there's like all these other things about her that I do like, that's where my focus is going to go, is the things that I do like, So, and it's the same thing with height to women, like, again, the preference might be a taller guy, but usually all it really boils down to for the most part is if you're taller than them. That's really all it really comes down to.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, she might want that, but it doesn't mean that that's what, she's going to, kill the deal because of that. Like if I'm going to look for a new car, we'll say I have a list of criteria that I want in a vehicle, right? And this particular car meets all my needs. It's economical, gets good gas mileage. It's safe. It's a good car. Doesn't break down. All these things. It looks good. Has a lot of cool features to it. We'll say that one of the criteria that I want in a car, aka preference, is seat heaters. Now, this car has everything except for seat heaters. That'd be stupid for me to be like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, like no seat heater, I'm done.
Yeah, because you're never going to, whatever your preferences are, that's needle in a haystack stuff. If you've got 20 preferences that you want, like homegirl that had that list of 25 things, which I met like 2 things on that list, for her to find that guy, she'd still be looking for that guy, because that guy doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's like it's basically a statistical anomaly. And to top it off, you're only thinking about, let's say, something physical. What about the emotional and the connection with that person?
Right.
That's a whole other topic. That includes more variables. Then, other things also come into picture, the compatibility, like sexual and, other stuff. So now you're basically looking at like a chance, like a 1 in a million or 1 in a trillion. Like You're literally going abysmally low if you try to find that one, 100 percentile. But again,
absolutely.
So
it's
always the case.
Well, like from a woman's vantage point, now she will likely have more options as far as, like, look, she gets on Tinder or something like that, and if she's pretty, she's going to get blown up, So she may have more options as far as that goes, but what do those options really look like? And when I say look like, I don't mean physically, though that's part of it, but like how good are these options?
Yep. Overall, it's like it's a net evaluation of everything, right? Not just say one factor like height or money or whatever. It's like,
like for instance, the other day I go to the grocery store, right? I've been on a sweet potato kick, so I go to get. I'm like, I need some more sweet potatoes, so I go over to where they're at, and there was a lot of them. It was like as if they just stocked it. Here's 500 sweet potatoes. But they look like trash, man. Like they look shabby as hell. And so, mind you, there's a ton of sweet potatoes, a bunch, way more than I could ever eat. You know what I mean? Just a ton of them. And I'm sifting through these, just trying to find 2 or 3 that are passable, and that's guys have a lot of times have this mentality that like, well, women have all these options. Well, yeah. Okay, fair. They have a lot of options, but do they? There's 500 sweet potatoes in front of me. I don't want a single one of them. And I need sweet potatoes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, true, they have more numbers as far as options go, but how many like real options do they have? Like, because again, their preferences may dictate certain criteria, which is fine. And they should do that, and you should do that too. You should have your own criteria of things that are deal breakers, but it shouldn't be so stringent that nobody makes the cut, because at that point,
what's the point then? Like,
right,
you're
exactly.
a losing streak. Exactly. And there's one thing I would like to clarify also, like, people consider, like, let's say she says that you don't meet her standards or whatever. Like, let's say you're not tall enough and she rejects whatever. Like you said, she rejected herself. Like, she literally doesn't have to be in your life. Also, why would you ever want to be with someone like that? Anyone who is actually judging, like, let's say there's some girl who says, like, she doesn't like Indian men. Just cause, like, whatever. She has something, like, why would you ever want to be with someone like that?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how pretty she is. It's just like gonna end up horribly. It's just like asking for, punishment at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So why? And also, there's like so many people on this planet. There's like billions, man. Like,
right.
You definitely find more options. Why would you wanna, like, risk your sanity for it? Like, it's just not worth it.
Well, I think, there's two different types of guys here with this. So we'll say, we'll say that there's a girl that you want to kick it with, right? And actually, I'll make it a little bit more vivid. We'll say that there's a white girl, right? That she got transferred to your town, okay, for work. All right. So she now lives there. All right. And my hunch is, maybe I'm wrong, but my hunch is, a white person is probably going to stick out like a sore thumb in where you live.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not going to take long for people to, notice.
Notice. Yeah.
There's a white girl that lives here. All right. And we'll say that you happen to run into her at, you're getting a smoothie somewhere. All right. And you happen to run into her there and you strike up a conversation. All right. And the conversation's going well and everything. And you're like, okay, well, shit, man. I mean, she's cute and everything and blah, blah. Let me try to close the deal,
Yeah.
And so you start getting a little flirtier with her. Right. And then she tells you, oh, well, listen, like, great conversation and everything. And, like, I'm really liking it here. But, like, I'm not here to date. I'm here for work. And truth be told, like, I'm just not into Indian guys. Okay. So she's not like being rude or anything like that. It's just, she just isn't attracted to Indian guys, we'll say. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's two different types of guys. Okay. And the first guy is going to be like, take it as an affront on his ego, meaning like, well, if I was, if I was more alpha or if I was more this or that, then me being Indian wouldn't have made a difference, So he's making a commentary on who he is versus her preference or even her deal breaker in this case, you know what I mean? So this guy is going to be like, well, I need to be more alpha. I need to be more this or that. You know what I mean? Like he's going to take it as a personal thing about him, about other things, when she directly told him why. Like, you look, man, you could be the most alpha guy on the planet. You know what I mean? But she's just not into Indian guys, so it's not going to make a difference. So this guy may, try to double down and keep pushing forward and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then the other guy is the guy that's going to be like, where he's going to take it as a personal insult, like, oh, well, like she, she's racist or whatever, and so, so that's the thing is that in both of those situations, now we're talking about a deal breaker. Now we're not even talking about a preference, so like the way that these two different guys are looking at this is the wrong way to look at it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the right way to look at it would be to suggest, okay, let me do this. She's not into this right now. let me try to change the narrative in her head. Let me see why she doesn't like Indian guys. You know what I mean? If you can continue that conversation and she's comfortable with talking about it and things like that, like what about Indian guys is it that she doesn't respond to? And let me see if it's a false narrative or a stereotype or something that, because she didn't grow up around Indian people, whatever. Yeah. And so she might be hanging on to something that if I can dispel that myth, okay, maybe we have a different
should be open to it. Yep, exactly.
So stop being, what I'm getting at here is stop being offended by somebody else's preferences. You know what I mean? Their preference is their preference. And if their preference or deal breaker is something to you that seems ridiculous, well, one, either try to change the narrative or they eliminated themselves.
No, like they did you a favor by getting out. Like, you don't have to sort them. It's just
right.
Like, if it was not the right match, it was not the right match. Nothing against you or him. Like, it's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we all have preferences. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like for me, like I typically there's obvious exceptions to this. You know what I mean? But typically, I'm not all that attracted to black women. You know what I mean? But to me, the black women that are exceptionally attractive are stupid hot. You know what I mean? Like very, very, very attractive. But in the broader sense, I'm just not that into it. You know what I mean?
No.
And I mean, like shit, it has nothing to do with, race or anything like that. Like, I mean, if you took a walk through my neighborhood, you would see that, like, clearly I have no problem being around black people. You know what I mean? Like, my city is 90% black, clearly I don't have an issue with it. However, just, you can't, attraction isn't a choice, if I'm not attracted, it's not because of like, oh, this girl's African-American. No, it's just like this African-American girl is somebody that I'm not attracted to.
It's more biological, like, subconscious kind of, in the sense that sometimes you just find certain people attractive.
Right.
And that's the thing, like what you find attractive, others might not. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a person, like you said, it's something, personal to you. What makes you happy may not make everyone happy. That's how life is. You just do what makes you happy. You don't need to care about what other people think about it or, any of that sort. You just focus on what makes you happy as a person.
Yeah. There was a guy that I was working with here in Detroit that this was before I was with Modern Flirting, but I was we were doing day game at the mall, and then I'm coaching him. And so it's like, a thing of like, okay, here's these girls standing over here. All right, man, go talk to her or go talk to them, or, like pushing them to go talk to people. So we're walking and he's like, yeah, man, a lot of the girls that you have me talk to, they're pretty and all, but they're just not really my type. He's like, they're objectively attractive, but they're just not really what I'm into. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I mean, keep in mind, we're just practicing, but I'm like, well, what are you into? He's like, man, I'm into like big fat girls. I'm like, okay, like, you made my job a lot easier, but okay.
Okay.
I'm like, and he was like very reluctant to tell me this, by the way, you could tell he did not really want to tell me, and I'm like, look, dude, this isn't about impressing me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who you talk to. I'm just picking out girls that I think are attractive and telling you to go approach them because they're attractive girls. And you're learning, But now knowing that, again, this isn't about impressing me and, seeing you, kick it with the most attractive girl here, This is about you getting what you want, and
exactly.
If that's what you're into, I don't care, no judgment from from my end, like, okay, cool. So let's add that to the mix. Like when, there's some girl that you think is attractive, then I'm not going to push you. You go do it,
Yeah.
like just go, go talk to her. So, and that was his preference. Now, again, he's still more than willing to go talk to the other girls that aren't his preference, things like that. But, what he's into is what he's into, and what he's attracted to is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So who am I to be like, no, man, like, no.
You have to do this, otherwise. Yeah.
They have to be models. My reputation's on the line here, buddy. Like, can't have people seeing you talk to, to these girls over here. Like, man, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, go talk to who you want. So yeah, man. Preferences are a thing, but it's not a death sentence. It's not something.
It's not end of the world or something.
Right.
Just like, just pick.
So, you got anything you want to add? I think I pretty much exhausted the topic as much as I can think of.
Yep. Me too. Like, I think that's about it, right? Other than that, I don't think there's much to talk about.
Okay.
I would say, like, we are actually running out of things to say, surprisingly.
All right. So check this out, guys. Here's the deal. If you are not a member of the Inner Game Facebook group, all right, we got 3,800 guys coming up on 3,900 guys in there, and it's all predicated on you being able to level up, in particularly your inner game. All right. So I'm going to drop a link to that group. All you got to do is a request to join, and you are in there. All right. And it's a culture that is really focused on everybody's improvement. Like, I don't tolerate any shenanigans. You know what I mean? So if you want real help on a day-to-day basis, that's the place you need to be. Okay. So second to that, like I said, right at the beginning of the podcast, I would love for this to be listener driven. If you have a topic that you want us to kick around, by all means, man, let me know. I am easy to find. Yeah. Thirdly, just started a new Instagram. All right. At Dale Valor Modern Flirting. All right. Follow me. And here's the thing. Almost a year ago, my previous Instagram profile got hacked, and I had about 20,000 followers on there, and it sucked. So I'm kind of starting from scratch here with this, but dropping content every day there that's inner game related, and some other odds and ends and things like that too. So it would just be awfully dope to be able to interact with you guys more on a more personal level, things like that. So yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. And so with that said, we're going to hop up out of here, and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.